for sure your roadmap, Ray. There's your roadmap, that buyer and seller checklist.
Yes.
Make sure that as you're going through there, and each time you do it, it's going to get easier. But like you just said, this is your first listing, so there's going to be some, some what do I do first? What do I do second? What does my seller need to provide me? Those kind of things. So stick to those lists for sure.
Yeah. And me, my savior angel right now is Shara. She's been doing a great job mentoring me through the whole process. So that's very helpful.
Well, that's
And the
good.
other thing is you're doing it.
Yep.
You just kind of have to jump in there and kind of figure it out. And what you don't know, I'm never afraid to tell a client, hey, let me check on that. Or,
Yeah.
no, plus you got a lot of help.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
I
Cindy, that's
appreciate
not
you.
what you just said is exactly right. That's not a weakness not to know.
Yeah.
I'd
No.
rather not give people the wrong answer. Let me say, hey, let me check into it.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you. So,
Yeah. I think that's one of my core values is my humility. I'm able to speak to what I don't know
Yep.
yeah,
and you need to learn and grow from it because
yeah.
that's what makes us better. If we want to change, it's up to us.
Yep.
Well,
And you earn trust by
right.
clients by doing
Ray,
that.
you're going to stick out like a sore thumb when you do that because people know that, there's a lot of egos in this real estate business as there is in any business, but sometimes people think nothing of giving wrong answers. And,
Yeah.
for you to say, hey, let me stop here. I don't want to give you the wrong answer. Let's do this and this and this, and I'll get back to you. And again, to Cindy's point, there's more value there. There's more, I mean, there's a lot of good things that come out of that. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And then what I've learned through the ninja selling is that Ford, the acronym Ford, that's already built into an acronym that I used a long time ago. Is Care Plus, is how we treat people and how we build from listening, um, been building relationships from there. So I really relate to it.
Yep.
hey, what's the D, by the way? I stalled this morning. I was trying to explain to somebody friends, occupation, recreation, and what's the D?
The D is
Ford.
Oh,
um,
Ford. Come on, people. Don't look like I'm talking Spanish to you.
dedication.
no, it's not dedication. It's
Friends, occupation,
desire. I think
rec. Kim, what is it?
the desire,
It's dreams.
dreams.
Dreams. Oh my gosh, how can you forget dreams? That's the
Thank
most.
Yeah, I had the
you.
first letter.
I don't dream enough. That's my
Okay.
problem. Jeez.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
if you guys will intro because it's recording and then you guys can keep talking. Okay.
Hit it.
Okay.
Go.
Got it.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Doug, we got the great Doug Hale,
Yeah, come
and
on now.
yeah, we're kind of trouble together,
We
but
are, we are, but we love it. We love it.
love it. So we are here to talk about open houses, and we're gonna have a lot of information and uh, learn a lot and get great tips on having a successful open house. So let's get started. Doug.
Look at you, these little questions. All of a sudden, Doug.
So Doug, what do you
Well, let me
think
let me say
open
something
houses?
about one of my favorite topics, open houses. Do I love them? Yes, I love them. And people say, "Are you nuts?" And I say, "Yes, I'm nuts." But what a better venue to get in front of buyers and sellers, people that have interest in real estate, right? Especially when you get started in real estate, Cindy. I'm always saying, okay, how do I get in front of more people?
Yeah,
And one of those is obviously to be in front of people at an open house. I go into an open house with a very positive attitude because you can talk yourself out of doing open houses, saying things like, well, gosh, everybody that comes to my open house is probably working with somebody else, right? So why do I want to be there? And the reality is there's a whole lot of reasons that you do want to be there. So I'm pretty excited about open houses, our topic.
yeah. I think it's a great. Well, the other thing about open houses is you learn how to relate to people. You're dealing with all different personalities. You're getting out of your comfort zone because we all know, you know, if you're in real estate, you're in sales.
Yeah, yeah,
You're in
yeah.
sales, but you're also dealing with people. And it's nice to be able to, you're in a situation where you are promoting somebody's home and you can kind of bounce around trying to relate to the people that come to that open house,
Mhm.
answering questions, all that. You get better as you do it.
Mhm.
And so we're gonna go through a few things here that will make it successful. So, preparing for an open house. Well, we all know you need to have a property, and we've heard agents say, "Well, I don't have any listings." Doug, how do you answer that?
How do I, but I'll bet you there's a whole bunch of people around you at Five Star that do. And it's kind of interesting to me because when you first get started in real estate and you talk about your sphere being small and you talk about, man, I just don't have any listings. Well, what do I do first? You go find people within your company that obviously have listings and you ask them to open up. Okay, can I do your open house this Sunday or Saturday? And very often when you ask a number of people, I had some at our coffee hour this past Tuesday in Muskegon, and man, I had two or three people say, "Well, would you be willing to do that?" And all of a sudden, I had two or three other agents say yes. So again, because you don't have your own listings, doesn't mean you can't do open houses at another agent's listings.
Yeah.
So,
And it's like we talked about, it's a great way to get started.
hmm
And you're engaging with other agents too, so you're getting to know them and helping them, which means they'll talk to other agents. So you never know. The thing about real estate is that opportunity, you don't want to miss out on it. And the littlest things mean the most. They
Yep,
really do.
yep,
Um,
sure do.
so we're going to talk about like best days and times. It used to be, and maybe it's still kind of that way, but I see them on the weekdays now. It used to be it was typically on Sundays, Saturday or Sundays. But we all know with the changing work week and people working remotely and all that, what do you think, Doug?
Yeah, it varies. I mean, it really, really does. I mean, I used to say, and especially in some of the areas of West Michigan, Saturdays were great days for open houses. Then all of a sudden, what happened? Parents started being involved in every activity that their child had during that time. So attendance at some of those open houses on Saturday diminished. We still believe that the weekends, the Saturdays and Sundays for the larger greater good. I still have the ones that I do on Sunday. I still get good traction. I've tried days of the week, like evenings, Monday night between 5 and 7, Thursday night between 5 and 7. I just haven't had, and I'm speaking personally, I just haven't had the success that I've had on the weekends. So I kind of stick to Sundays and I kind of do the people go to church in the morning, they go out for a bite to eat after that, and then I arrange some things between 12 and let's say 3:30 on Sunday. And when I explain that to my seller, they want the most people at their place during that time. So they're open to what I have to say.
Yeah, and if you're going to do it, you want to make it, again, being sensitive to, if you have, well, you've got soccer going on right now, the big game or all that, certain holidays and that may not be the best, but
Yeah.
Doug, I'm with you. I think the weekend and I prefer Sundays too.
Mhm.
I think that it's hard, and depending on that time of year too, right now, this time of year, summer, people are busy on weekends and that, but on Sunday, I think I agree for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, it just makes sense. And I don't know if it's maybe because you and I have done this long enough that kind of the old school thinking that you want to be available when people are available. And good heavens, I just find that during the weekends, you have more ability to steal some of their time. Might not be a big window of time, but at least know that again that time would be available. So I'm going to continue to do them Sundays. I'm going to continue to have conversations with my clients about the why I do it then.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a whole lot of people say no.
Yeah. And, again, you're checking with your sellers in advance too to make sure that works for them.
Yep.
And I think that you have to what it might be what we call old school, but yeah, you
Mhm.
want to get the biggest bang for your buck for sure.
Yep.
Um, and then, so once you have that date secured and you've talked to your sellers, works for your sellers, it's going to be important to market that. You want to market the open house. And I know I've seen some really cool ideas online in that. Uh, but I like to take advantage of the ones that don't cost me additional funds. And one of the main ones is to go into your MLS and record that or post that open house in your MLS. If you don't know how to do that, give us a call at broker support. It's great because that posts to Zillow and all of the other sites. And
Mhm.
when people are looking for houses, they're probably looking at one of those other sites. And it's nice to have that on there where it's an easy thing to do. And if your sellers, I always try to look at it this way, when my sellers are looking, I want to make sure that they are seeing that I'm advertising that open house.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, to your point, people always say, well, how soon do you start advertising or some of that, the marketing things you do, whether it's online, obviously social media is a great place for, once you've secured the date, the time, again, share with your seller what your plans are in terms of prior to the open house. These are the things that I typically do. The reason I do them are the why. Again, you're going to tell them why. They want to know you're working and they want to know you're setting the stage for success. So you're not just showing up there on Sunday at 1 o'clock with a plate of cookies saying, okay, let's go to work. This is being done ahead of time with some strategy in terms of what you're doing to kind of set the stage. So,
Yeah, and your time's valuable. So if you're going to take that time, whether it be an hour and a half, 2 hours, if you're going
yeah,
to take that time, I want people to show up. I want to know that I gave it my best
yeah,
uh, foot forward in order to get a very successful open house.
yep, yep. Well, and Cindy, another thing I do, and again, I don't know if it's just me. But when I list a property, we get things going, we start down the road to getting it sold. When we prep the home, and I spend a lot of time here, when we prep the home for this open house, whether it's advertising it, whether it's getting the word out to more people, kind of setting the stage for people to come, I'm pretty intentional about saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, can we just have just maybe a get together at the house for 15, 20 minutes, a half hour, whatever it takes, and whether they're living there or they're not living there. The reason for me to be going there ahead of time is I want to see the house again. And
Yeah,
it's crazy to me. I lose sleep at night sometimes thinking, okay, when I listed it, it was in this kind of condition. Now I'm planning on doing an open house. It'd be probably a really good idea if you got together with the seller, whether it's a day before, 3 days before, just simply for an hour, just to kind of go through the house again. And yeah, I'm kind of picky.
that's a great idea.
Want
That's a great idea.
I just want it to be nice, right?
What if you forget, like, I mean, I've done it before when I've gone on a listing appointment or I've gone back to get the listing documents, forgot it had a second floor. I've done that.
Yeah,
You're in and out of houses
yeah,
so
sure.
much, and that is the extra special touch that really sellers like that.
Yep. I agree with you, and I've done the same thing.
Oh my gosh.
Missed the second floor. We're in a
Oh,
big hurry. Hey, glad everything's good. We'll see you
yeah.
Sunday. And then you think, oh my gosh. So
Yeah. Yep.
Um, anyways, but yeah, another nice thing I kind of talked through with the sellers, and again, because they live there, I have to be a little bit sensitive in my message, but I want to make sure that they understand it. Are certain smells when you come into the house for the very first time, certain things that, if we could eliminate some clutter in certain areas, things that we do kind of setting the stage prior to the open house, you want to see if you can have conversations around that and, obviously see if you can get that changed before the open house.
Yeah, mow the lawn.
Mow the lawn,
That curb appeal. We want
take the
people.
cat litter box out of the, the living room area.
Yeah,
Kind of
or the
crazy, right?
bathroom.
Yeah. I had a lady last week. She says, "Doug, I don't smell the cats." I said, "No, but I do."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
those kind of things that you can do prior to that. But the reason I do that, just so that, and I share with people, this is why we want to do these things up front, so that come Sunday, we're ready to go. The place looks great, smells great, ready for good people to come. So
fantastic. And then, okay, so let's talk about what you take to the open house.
yeah, yeah. You probably take more than I do, right?
Well, I like to have a sign-in sheet. I actually have a sign-in book.
Yeah.
I've had it for a long time, but I really like it. It's kind of
Mhm.
classy looking, and
Yeah.
you know, I, if I can get names and that. Plus, I
Well,
don't know. I'm kind of, it's like if they're working with somebody, that's great, no problem. But at least I've got that. If they're willing to put that information down, I can contact that agent after and say, hey, your clients came through the open house. Gosh, if you have any questions,
yeah. Yeah. Does it look like a formal little wedding book when you go to a wedding?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
open it up and
yeah,
it'll say, how did you hear about the open house? Because again,
yeah,
You know, that's helpful when you're marketing. Like, how did you hear from the open house? Maybe
yeah,
they heard it from a neighbor. Maybe they saw my sign or
yeah,
whatever. It's a good follow-up material.
yeah.
Um, and then I'm sure you do this, Doug. I print off in advance. I take and I do the flyers. I'm kind of simple. I take them right off the MLS, but you
Mhm.
can create flyers on the MLS. So I take colored ones with me, and I'll take a couple or a few extra printed out disclosures if they
Mhm.
have interest in that. Um, but I like to have that. First of all, it has my name on it. It has my contact info, and I want them to leave with something in hand.
Yep, yep. And the branding to that piece too, that what you print off the MLS,
Yeah,
especially if it's in color, don't make it look like it looks terrible in a black and white, like you spent
yeah,
no time in preparation.
yeah.
If it's color, if it has your information attached to it, that goes a long, long way. Yes.
And then I have a clear, um, actually, I got it on Amazon. I really like it. It's just a clear holder and it's got a place for business cards. And I put a detailed sheet in that. So
Okay.
that's sitting there. It just looks professional. My business cards are there. And of course,
Yeah.
I have 5-star pens there. Everybody can personalize them themselves. I've got kind of a little system. I have it all in a bag. So when I'm going to go to an open house, because a lot of us were kind of on the fly. So
Yeah.
I found that that helps me. I've got it all together. I just grab one bag and I'm ready to go.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, and on top of that, you can't, I always say you can't be too prepared, but you can be too prepared. I'll put some additional things in, like if I'm working with specific lenders in the area, I might add some information there, talking about interest rates or something that would spur a conversation when people would ask those questions. And some of those things that you can do, I mean, I've had it where, and this was in a subdivision in Norton Shores. I literally printed the last 6 home sales in that area so that they could see neighborhood statistics. Obviously, those things were important too. And I had those there so that, again, you know what's going to happen as soon as you get in there and you get into a conversation with someone. They might say something like, "Hey, Cindy, the house just around the corner, I think that didn't that just sell? At least I think it was like within the last month." And if you're looking cross-eyed back at these people, and
Yeah.
they're
Or you
like,
can't get the internet on your phone or
yeah,
your
and they're like
phone.
this, going like,
Yeah.
it kind of feels like they know more about the neighborhood than
Yeah.
you do. So you want to be the pro, you want to have all those answers, and you want to anticipate those things, which is important.
Yep. Knowing the neighborhood, that's for sure. Um, okay, so we've got all our things. We're at the open house
Yeah.
and got the open house sign out. Um, I get there, I turn on all the lights, make sure I'm prepared. I get there early. I'm not going to show up at 5 to whatever the time it's supposed to start. The I hate when people are waiting to come in and I'm not there and I'm not prepared, or my seller hasn't left yet. You get in construction and you show up and you're not prepared. It just looks very unprofessional in my opinion.
Yeah, 100% right. If you can get there early, get there early. I'm a guy that gets there 15 minutes early. If I'm doing two open houses on one Sunday, I allow myself enough time to get from point A to point B. Because to your point, you want to be prepared as people come in the front door. You want to have everything ready to go, lights on, just be ready at that point in time. So, very, very important. It's really tough to build rapport and to create a relationship as people come through the front door. If you're running around turning lights on
Oh,
and
here, let me get my cards out. Oh,
yeah, it just
I
feels
need
awkward,
lipstick,
and it is. So you're right.
Yeah. It's a yeah, I don't like to do that. Not a good thing for me.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so people come to the door, they come in, they're there for the open house. Obviously, we're going to greet them, welcome them. I always give them my name. Um, I'll hand them a sheet and say, hey, you know, here's information on the home. I'm happy to answer any questions. Please feel free to walk around. Any questions you have, I'm available. Just let me know. Um, how do you handle it, Doug? Same way?
Same way. Now I could tease a little bit and say I'm right at the front door and ready to pounce on people as they show up at the front
Come
door. And
on in.
I'm making them feel
You're at
uncomfortable,
the
and
road.
the reality is you don't want to do that. They
Right.
don't know you, you don't know them. Bottom line is what you're after is, a very welcoming environment that you can simply say, "Hey, glad you're here." I always extend my hand and I ask for their name. I say, "My name is Doug Hale, and you are." And so I give them a chance to kind of say
Yeah.
some things. I don't want to come across being pushy. I don't want to come across being salesy, right? And so this is all about earning rapport, building value, creating trust, all of those things that you can do. And we all do it a little bit differently. Um,
You're gonna have
I'm
to use your personality. What personality traits work best for you?
Thank you. Yep. And you couldn't have said that any better. 100% right. Cindy, you're going to come across a little bit different than I will. Sometimes people say, well, Doug, you don't listen well. When people tell you information, you need to listen. That's why we got these
That's why
things.
I carry a notebook.
That's why we got these things. But my wife will quiz me on things too. She says, you've heard some things, but you didn't hear everything that they had to say. Because in my mind, I'm kind of like, I got to get on to the next this or the next that. And that's not the right thing to do. You want to be in the moment, be able to listen to the people. They might not have an interest in the property that you're in right now, but they sure might have an interest in something else that you can help them with. So that's for me, it's important. I do the same thing that you do. I give them some general information. I ask them to walk around, just kind of enjoy themselves. I stay neutral. This is the one thing I can't
Oh,
emphasize enough to agents because we're so quick to want to what? Sell. And so we start following them around the house or the condo and just stay neutral, stay in kind of a general area, let them do their thing.
and Doug, I've had a couple incidents where the neighbors have come over and start
Oh,
telling me the history of the home, which I love, but
yeah.
then I'm missing out on all the other people. And then they start telling me they might start getting into the negative and all that. And
Right.
and I don't know, sometimes when I'm at these things, people tell me their life stories. And you know what? I enjoy learning about them, but then I've got people around me, so I try to have somebody with me when I do an open house
Yeah.
for that reason, just because if I've got to pivot, I'm not being rude, but I want to make sure that I'm not missing out on somebody coming in, or for the pure fact is I'm in charge of that house while I'm there.
Yeah.
And safety things, all that. I just started doing that, and it's
Yeah.
a lot more relaxing that I don't have to try to, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so let me ask you the question because you talked about this sign-in book. When does Cindy say, "Hey, I'd like to have you just at least register, put your name down or something like that"? How do you handle that? Because for a lot of agents, that feels really awkward.
Yeah, so what I do is that's why I get there early. I set up. I told you about that little clear thing I have with the information on
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
homes and that. Then I
Yeah.
have my book there. I had a custom sign made, seller's request you sign in.
Hmm.
Okay. And I have that book there and the pen. So, and I always make it regardless of how the house is set up. It's just my thing, but I try to do it to the right. So when they come in, they're looking, and I'll just welcome them. Hey, if you don't mind signing in. Now, I've had people ignore me. I've had people like, "Oh, yeah, no problem. Do you want my email? Do you want my phone number?" So it just depends on the person. But
Right.
again, I like that because after my open house, I'm going to report back to the seller, and I have something that tells me
Hmm.
how many, who was there. So yeah,
Important.
Doug, it's kind of a fine line. You've got people that are real private. You've got people like, oh yeah, no problem. So,
Yeah.
you kind of have to, you kind of get a better idea when you're,
You do, and it's interesting because and I've learned a lot from one of our teammates, Kim Anderson and Paul, Paul Carlson, our owner, our president, who loves to make sure that there's something that he has, and he said this at one of the coffee hours. I'd love to have names, numbers, information, because if they had let's say they had a question on the furnace or a question on something, that he didn't have that answer right there at the tip of his tongue, that he could make sure he got all the personal information. He said, "Would it be all right if I give you a call back with something like that?" And the way Paul would do that. I would be very open to having him call me that next day with that added
yeah,
information. So anything, and this is all about rapport, this is all about trust. I find that at the end of the time when people go to leave the open house, it's a better time for me, anyways, to have them sign that sheet because I've had an opportunity to meet with them and visit with them, and they've walked the property. And so at the end, I just simply say, "Hey, would you mind, filling this in so the seller knows, how many people have come?" Most people, if you say it right, they're not going to think that you're going to just come after them tomorrow as soon as Monday morning happens and, "Oh my gosh, I gave Doug too much information and now I can't get rid of him," that kind of thing.
I mean,
So,
when you go to other things, I mean, I like weddings, or I mean, I hate to say this, but funeral, I mean, you're signing in,
yeah,
so,
yeah,
and you're going into someone's home, so
yeah.
I
Well,
don't know. I
and
try
you're
to keep
trying to
it,
build value through this whole thing. You're trying to build
yeah,
value so people really at the end of that feel like they've got some rapport, they've got some
yeah,
trust built with you. So that's important.
yep.
So, anyways.
And well, I think we talked about not hovering over people
Mhm.
or following them around. But again, and if you're worried about the home and that, I think I don't see anything wrong with doubling up to two
Yeah,
people going to the open house or
yeah,
however, whatever you're comfortable with.
yeah,
Um, so we talked about the sign-ins. Taking notes.
yeah,
You brought that up, Doug, but what's really nice when somebody asks you a question, or if you notice that they had mentioned something like something that maybe if it's a question for you to get back with them, or a point that you didn't realize that might help your seller, like, oh, what is this big round stain on the bottom of the floor
oh,
here,
yeah,
that you didn't notice. I like to have because I can't remember things very well. So I
yeah,
have a little notebook and I write down all those little notes and things that I'm going to discuss with a seller. Or, oh, well, there was something downstairs that I don't know, some pipe that went in the floor that I had no idea what it went to. And it's great conversation to get back with my seller and also to get back with this potential
Yeah.
buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, let me ask you a question because this was brought up at a coffee hour a couple days ago. We got talking about open houses and somebody said, well, what are some of those things that you can either say or not say at an open house? So if
Well,
you're there, your fiduciary responsibility is to the seller of the property. What are some of those things? And I'll just ask you, Cindy, what would Cindy say would be some of those things I could freely give this information to people, and what are some of those things I kind of can't?
yeah. Well, when you have buyers that they may have legitimate interest and they're saying, well, do you think the sellers, are the sellers firm on price?
Mm,
Well, I'm like, well, sellers have it listed very, very competitively.
okay.
I'll say something very generic. I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, they're motivated.
Yeah.
It's not my job at the open house. I represent my seller.
Mhm.
Or, let me think, has anyone died in the house?
Mm,
And I tell them, I'm not really sure, but this house was built in 1942. It's had several owners, so I really don't know.
yeah.
You might be able to research those records, but I'm really not sure.
And you're being
Uh,
as honest with them as you can on
yeah, because
information you know,
I mean,
right?
let's be honest. If it's a you know if it's a one owner home, but if you're
Yeah.
in Lansing, there's a lot of older homes, so things
Yeah.
like that. Or how are the neighbors? I said, "Oh, well, I'm glad you're here. Just go walk around, and if you see any neighbors out, ask them what do they think of the neighborhood in that." Because we do not want to comment on neighborhood. We do not want to comment on, oh, this would be a great family home, or we want to be
Yeah.
very neutral um, with
Yep.
those buyers.
Yeah. What if they asked you, hey, where are the sellers going? Do you know when they're going or where they have to be at a certain time? But how much of that information can I share?
Well, it's going to depend, Doug, if we on our MLS and our listing agreement, if they need 30 days after closing, that's an easy one. Oh, they need
Yeah.
30 days after closing.
Yeah.
Why are they selling? Well, it's going to depend because on our listing agreement, do we have, a reason? If the seller wants to share a reason, typically it'll say relocating. And I'll know,
Yeah.
oh, they're relocating. I
Mhm.
leave it at that.
Yeah.
How are the
Well,
schools? Well, you can get online, there's websites that you can go to and you can look up the schools and all that.
yeah.
Um, but I'm not going to be answering anything like that. And I liked how you put it, you stay neutral.
Yeah. And you have to. I mean, I've kind of said all through my real estate career, imagine your seller sitting right next to you
Yeah,
at this open house, listening to every word that comes out of your mouth, right?
yes,
So the things that you can share are those things that your seller is saying, yes, it's okay to share that information.
absolutely. And quite frankly, we're probably being taped anyways. So,
Yeah.
you
Good
know,
point. Good point. Yeah.
that's the one thing when you're showing a house, you're in a house, I assume I'm always on camera.
hmm Good assumption. Good
Yeah.
assumption. Unfortunately, that's happening more than we can
Yeah.
anticipate, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable, but hey,
It's a sign of the times, Cindy.
it's everywhere. So,
Yep. Yep.
uh, so did that answer some of those questions,
Yeah,
Doug?
it did. It
Okay.
did. It did. I there was just some concerns about what can I share and what can I
Yeah.
share? And again, I've gone back to the seller and said, hey, I'm sure I'm probably gonna be asked this on Sunday.
Yeah.
What do you feel like? I mean, what do you want to convey? What do you want people to know? And so I get permission from the sellers to be able to share that, because so often what happens is we end up talking when we shouldn't be talking about certain things like that and find ourselves in kind of this really strange position, right?
Yeah.
And just know that some buyers they're pretty bold these days.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Um,
educated and they've got specific questions. But one of the things that I try to remember too is I'm going to try to answer with a question.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
good.
it
That's
it
good.
and actually uh Greg Carlson, we learned that from if you're uncomfortable or nervous, I'll ask a question. So if
Mhm.
somebody asks me something like that, I usually get this feeling like, I'm probably going
Yeah,
to mess this
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'll ask them a question or, oh, wow, I like your
Yeah,
hair. Oh my
yeah.
gosh, those are great earrings. So, uh, you know,
Yeah.
uh, you do your best.
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to ask people for, I'm not going to say, hey, those are great earrings. Yeah. Not sure they'd appreciate that coming from Doug, right? So we'll leave that at that. So, but it's interesting because the people that you get, that you're following up with and the people that you see at an open house, never assume, and I'm going to say this loud and clear, when people come in and the first thing you're trying to do is drill down to whether or not they're working with another agent or not working. And some people will just quite frankly tell you that they'll just show up and say I'm working with so and so, and I'll just say, hey, that's great. I certainly, if there's interest here, would that be all right if I stay in touch with that agent there so that they know what you've seen while you're here. um, I'll have people on the other hand that have said, gosh, I came to the open house and, I feel like I'm finding all the houses. My agent's not helping me. They're not helping me find the right places to go. All of a sudden, I'm feeling like in this conversation, is that agent's probably not helping them very, very much. So the more you listen, the more you ask those questions that you just said, Cindy. I've had it where people have said, something, I haven't signed anything with that person, and they are really not helping me at all.
Yeah.
I want to work with somebody that asks the right questions, and it shows me that
Yep.
there's effort and there's value there. So I've had that. I remember back to early on in real estate where my first six, seven deals were from open houses, and they lots of times they didn't buy the property that they came to see. They bought something else, but that's kind of how that begins. And
Yeah.
so never assume that you can't be of value to people when they come to the door. So
Yep, absolutely. And if they are working with an agent and it's somebody like or somebody I know,
yeah,
I'll always compliment that agent, you know.
please. Yeah. Good.
Great. Oh, wow, you're in great hands.
Yep. Yep.
So,
It's all good. Yeah.
um, okay, so let's talk about, let's see, follow up. Very, very important, and probably all of us can always do
Do
better
better. Do
on
better.
follow
Right.
up.
Yep.
Um, when you go to the open houses and let's say you have some visitors and that, many ways you can follow up. If you have their phone numbers, you can call them, say, "Hey, it was great meeting you. I really enjoyed visiting with you at the open house. I'm just calling to follow up. Did you have any further questions, or is there anything else I can help you with?" Simple call like that.
Yep.
You know?
Yep. 100% right. I do it every time. And
Yeah.
I say the exact same thing that you just said. Exactly.
And or you can follow up with cards, notes if you have. My guess is they're probably not leaving their address, but I don't know. If they do, you could do that.
Yep.
Or if they're working with an agent, and that's again why that sign-in sheet, those sign-in sheets are super important.
Yep.
If they're working with an agent, I'll call that agent and say, "Hey, hi Stacy, it's Cindy Beckwith. Your people came through my open house. Just wanted to let you know that. Didn't know if they were interested or wanted to find out if you had any questions, and
Hmm.
would love to work with you. You know,
Hmm.
have a
Yeah.
great
No,
day."
I do the same thing. And whether if they're not working with anybody and they didn't identify that and I didn't bring it up, yeah, I'm doing the same thing you are. Calling the next day saying, hey, thanks again for coming. Man, it was
Yeah.
really great to see you. Thanks for taking the time. I know we're all time starved, we're all busy. Hey, just a quick question for you. Was there any follow-up? Was there anything yesterday that we didn't talk about that you have still questions about, things like that? Then I'll make it short and sweet. And lots of times I'll get, no, Doug, you did a great job. We're still looking. We're still out there. And many times I'll get people say, well, that didn't fit what I was looking for. And I might ask another follow-up question. Well, what are you looking for? And all of a sudden it turns into a whole different opportunity. But you're essentially adopting people that are out there in the marketplace that are wanting to see more. So it's good.
Yeah. And then probably most importantly is following up with your seller
Mhm.
afterwards. When I'm leaving the open house, I'll try calling them and say, hey, what happened at the open house? It can get a little uncomfortable if you don't have anybody show up.
Mhm. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
again, I'll put a positive spin on that. Well, hey, we're going to try again in 2 weeks. I know there was a lot going on this past weekend. While I was there, I was able to, I'm going to switch up our photos a little bit. I'm always going to let them know, regardless if it was a no-show open house, I'm gonna be doing something, or I'm gonna, I noticed this. Oh, gal, I'm gonna, your floors are so great. I'm gonna, highlight those a little bit more. I'm gonna relook at comps next week, and I'll give you an update, again at the end of the week and all that.
Yeah, all that's good. That's all good. Yep. Yep. Well, and again, you've said the right things. There wasn't anybody here, but here's some things we can do in preparation for the next one. Yep.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And if you had showings before, I'm gonna, follow up with them again. I mean, there's always something that you can do to help that seller. And if you're doing an open house for an agent, I think it's really, really key that you call that agent and give them the feedback and follow up. If it was a no-show, and a lot of times I'll ask if there's another agent doing an open house for me, I'll say, well, what did you think? What was your opinion? And I learn from that.
yeah.
Uh, and I can tweak things a little bit. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those are all good things. And anything you can do in terms of follow-up, and you'll know you're smart enough to know what questions people have. I mean, you're not just going to sound like that. Oh my gosh, I said I wasn't gonna, stalk these people, but I feel like I'm stalking these people the next day. Maybe bad choice of words. Sorry, folks. Um, but again, you want to be there, you want to be a resource for folks, and you want to make sure that they're getting the answers to those questions that they have. Some they say I have a question, some they might not say they have a question. So all of those things are super important.
yeah. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. Yeah.
should we open it up? Ray, do you have any questions, or how are open houses going for you?
Well, right when I started open houses, I mean, they've been kind of slow because they were over the holiday weekend when we had the holiday weekend. So not much traffic at all. Um, but understanding the process of it and taking the time to take your notes as you're going through it. I mean, listen to my mentor and um, seeing by example because I did a showing for you once, and how you display something. It created an idea, and I kind of went with it in my direction. You know how it fit my
An
style.
open house for me too, Ray.
Yeah, open exactly. So um, they've been going okay. Not a lot of traffic so far.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I hope for the best. And I just maybe you know the feedback I give to the realtor I'm helping out, or you know, either yourself or Shara, what I'm hearing or what I'm seeing. Like you said, feedback. So it's going
Yep.
well so far. I like the experience.
So it helps you get used to, well, first of all, when you get in real estate, you're like, okay, I'm in real estate. What do I do now? What am I
Well,
in?
the flow and the routine are important. So
Yeah,
understand
very,
that, and it
very.
starts like you said, getting there early, knowing a game plan ahead of time, and sticking to that game plan. That way you don't fall behind the eight ball, and you feel like you're rushing.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we're in business for ourselves, but I kind of have a job mentality when it comes to my routine because it helps me because you can get in all different directions in real estate and going to open houses and that you can be distracted and all that. But I put my job hat on, I guess, and it makes it a little
Absolutely.
bit easier.
Yeah. So me coming out of retail, that's what I mean. I've been in retail or sales for a long time, different aspects of it, but knowing how to work with a lot of people in a small area, I'm kind of accustomed to it and how to some of those behaviors you need to look out for. So that's kind of built into me already. But every situation is a unique situation and never take anything for granted.
That's awesome. What do you think, Doug?
Well, let me say two things because it's always interesting, especially when you're talking to people that are just getting into the business. Um, the questions always come up like, well, do open houses really matter? Do people really go to open houses anymore? I mean, they find all this information online. We all have our cell phones. We all have Zillow. Do people really go? And the answer is yes. I have people that go to open houses because, yes, they might see the property online. They don't know the area. They don't know anything about the surrounding neighbors, anything like that to kind of give them an idea of of the culture. So the answer to those questions are yes. And as people get into this business too, it's a it's a about you finding what's important time-wise. You obviously want to do the right thing. You obviously want to do the right thing for your clients, but it is important to get in front of people that are buying and that are selling. And I feel like open houses are a very, very good way of doing that. And
Well,
I've always said they work if you do. So,
exactly. Well, and I just had a closing with some clients that I sent them. We had been looking at houses. This house came back on the market. They were having an open house. And so I had them go to the open house. I already knew the house because I had showed it to clients previously too. And I was at another appointment. I said, well, why don't you go to the open house? Then we'll meet up and, we can talk about that or figure out our next plan. Well, they fell in love with it. They bought
hmm,
it.
hmm,
So, and if that house didn't have an open house, I don't know. I could have been showing them all these other houses, uh,
yeah.
that, and it could have been sold for it, but they went to the open house and we closed.
It's good. It's good. Well, you can certainly adopt people, build friendships. Open houses are just that venue that if people really spend the time, do the preparation, I mean, and I mean do it right.
Yeah.
Be the pro, be the person that's going to be of value. When you're in front of those folks in conversations, you're gonna pick up people to work with. You just will.
Yeah.
But again, be the pro. I'll leave it at that, Cindy.
Yeah. Well, this was fun. Doug,
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you. Always fun.
Just know I'm going to do open houses the rest of my career, folks. So it doesn't mean that you have to do it in the first year, 2 years, 3 years, and then all of a sudden you quit. This is about meeting people on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And my wife is always kidding me, saying things like, "Doug, your goal is to meet as many people as you can before you die, right?" Well, I'm in the world of real estate. This is a perfect venue for having conversations, meaningful conversations around real estate. So why not?
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So it's good
Yeah.
stuff.
All right. Well, thank you. And everybody go out and do an open house.
That's right. Please. You will be pleased. You will be pleased. So
Have a
Cindy,
wonderful day.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
thanks, Ray. Thanks, Cindy.